guide this tired street. Potholes dance beneath our feet. Promises fall like broken glass. The future hides behind the past. Is it the end, or just the bend? Will we rise, or let it end? Through the crime and through the haze, can we find brighter days? Trains don't run the way they should. Ports stand silent where they once stood. A nation's heart beats slow and low, fingers pointing where the blame should go. Is it the end, or just the bend? Will we rise, or let it end? Through the crime and through the haze, can we find brighter days? Chaos sings in whispered tones. Streets of silence cast their stones. Promises empty like open skies, but hope survives where truth lies. Is it the end, or just the bend? Will we rise, or let it end? Through the crime and through the haze, can we find brighter days? When walls talk back and windows cry, boundaries drawn under heavy skies. In the space between the set and scene lies a story that cuts unclean. Hold the ties that thread and tangle tight. Diplomatic dances in the cold moonlight. A step misplaced and the stage does sway. Persona non grata carried far away. stolen on grabs I carry far away.
Well, a few snafus this morning, folks. Sorry about that. My goodness. I don't know what's going on at YouTube. I think it was a mistake on my part trying to get it started, and then it just all went cascading from there. I tried to start this program 20 minutes ago, and it was all cocked up. The video wouldn't start. It was acting up. I had to shift around, and anyway, man, what a wasted evening. I got so much accomplished today, and then just the evening just went to crap. Didn't get much accomplished at all. So, dang, and that looks the way it's playing out right here on the broadcast tonight. So my apologies for any snafus or hiccups or anything that came across odd there in the stream. I could not get it started. I was forced to delete this thing, and then I had to start it over again, and then it had the wrong thumbnail, and it had the wrong settings, and it was going to start the wrong broadcast that didn't even exist. Oh, it took me a while, but we're there. We're sorted now. So, man, welcome back, everybody. Rand is like a druggie, only time till it falls again. Yeah, there you go. Whew, man, right. Well, Bach and Terry, I'm not sure it was entirely YouTube's fault. I think I had a setting. Last night's stream I made private because I didn't like a couple things I said in the program. Nothing wrong with it. I didn't like it. So I made it private after the stream, and that kind of cocked up the settings. So anyway, it went to default to private, which is not my default. Default is public. Anyway, it just took a little while to sort out. So it's sorted now, and hopefully problem is solved. So welcome back to the program, folks. Good evening. It is Tuesday, the 8th of April, 2025. And I'm most of the way through my taxes. I'd say about 75% of the way through my federal taxes. And I wait till this evening. I'd hope to get it finished tonight, so I didn't quite get there. So anyway, yeah, internet gremlins. It happens. Again, it might be operator timing and headspace on my part. Too much white there. Too much T-shirt. Let's close that up there. Okay. Nikita's just popped in and off to go. Well, wow, that was quick. Sorry to see you go. That was very quickly. Anyway, so lots of things to talk about tonight. Some op-eds I want to comment, including one by Gabriel Krause, in which I think that his response is not measured. He gives the impression that he's criticizing two folks, but he really just criticized one. I want to talk about that and some other op-ed out there. Yeah, what I am seeing is that there are some people in the media world who have no compunction whatsoever about calling people names without any substantiation or basis for it. Now, I'm not the target of that, so I'm not complaining. I think the problem people run into with when they try to lie about me is that there's a body of evidence here, and reasonable people, not just the lunatics, will come and look at the body of evidence and go, oh, no, that can't possibly be true. That guy doesn't say that. That guy doesn't do that. That's not his opinion at all. His worldview is completely different than that. How can you come with that conclusion? But some people do believe that stuff. So anyway, yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that stuff tonight. In 8 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, China's death begins in 8 minutes. The Chinese communists begin their death in 8 minutes. That's right. They want to play. They want to play chicken with Donald Trump. The end is nigh for the Chinese communists, and we'll ring in the new day. The end of the Chinese communists. They have overplayed their hand. We only send 20% of the trade that goes between China and U.S. comes from U.S. So 80% is at risk here. We have 20% at risk. Some agriculture, which will hurt us. But mostly our other goods are kept out of China by their barriers and their tariffs and their insane protection of the marketplace. So China has a lot to lose here. U.S. consumers, but I'll tell you what, folks, I can do without trinkets for a couple more days, a couple more months while the Chinese get their act together. But Trump is going to spank them and spank them hard. It is time for this nonsense to stop. You know, it's fascinating to watch video footage, which is now being played in the press, or digging up the old clips of Chucky Schumer in 1995 complaining about China and how it's unfair and how we need to balance the trade and stop this trade deficit and how they're using illegal. Now he's completely opposite. He's attacking Trump for trying to stop it. It is, hey, Giuseppe, been a while, man. Watched RPMMA, a bearded Irishman who is covering policy. No, never heard about it. Someone in Ireland, RPMMA. Is that on YouTube? For that. Okay, you've interrupted me there, but that's a good interruption. I'll take that. RPMMA, mixed martial arts. Oh, that's RP. 2 P's. How do you get 2 P's in there? Trump. There's Boy. He's got a video on South Africa. Yeah, I don't know who the guy is. He's got one video in South Africa, and that video's got 36,000 views. No, two, three. Oh, suddenly he's got a bunch of videos in South Africa. What the heck? Oh, he's jumping on a trend. This guy does mixed martial arts, but he's covered several South African videos the past years. I don't know who the guy is. Never heard of him before. No, I don't watch a lot of YouTubers. I don't have time, guys. May I please explain the American schooling structure? We have primary schools and high schools, but America has middle schools and sophomores. Okay, Max, I think what you're saying is, could I, not you. You're saying, can you please explain the school to you? I think you meant, could I explain the schooling? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So, first off, we don't have matric. We don't do that. Some states have a high school passing out examination to make sure you're functionally literate. Most don't. When I was in high school, that was something they're moving to, and school students were terrified of it because we didn't want to take an exam to graduate high school. You normally just finish your classes, meet your graduation requirements for the number of subjects, and so on. So school works the following way. We have preschool for some nice, lucky, dirt poor and rich kids. The rest of us are screwed. I never went to preschool. It's where you learn to socialize, you play with blocks and things like that, and people watch you. Change your bib on your food, your messy shirt after you spill your lunch all over yourself. But that's preschool, and that's for little kids. And then we have kindergarten, which comes from the German tradition. So many Germans settled here. At one point, nearly half Americans were of German descent. Today, that number is a bit lower because of the mass immigration influx of people from all over the world. But the numbers of people who are of German descent have increased dramatically. It's just as a percentage they've dropped. So kindergarten, and then you go to primary school. Okay, primary school. Or we often call it here elementary school. But primary school is elementary school. So that's the first one. That's grades 1 through 6, or whatever standard or you guys want to call it there. So that's 1 through 6. Then we have normally, in a normal school system, my school was different. When I was in Pennsylvania, it was normal. When I went to Ohio, it was weird. My school was weird. So that became more common in the 70s and 80s. But traditionally, it's primary school, elementary, 1 through 6. Then you go on to middle school, 7th and 8th grade. And there's a reason for that. There's a maturation of kids at those ages. You start to 7th and 8th graders begin to go through puberty. And if you break them away from the high school students, they're less likely to be abused and harassed and hazed by high school students as they go through their puberty. Some kids go a little bit earlier, some go a little bit later, but most kids are in that time frame. And then you have high school. High school is 4 years normally. Sophomore, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. That's your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And those names for academic years correspond directly with university studies as well. You're a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and a senior normally. Well, it's supposed to be a 4-year program. Tell that to American students. A lot of them take 5 years or longer. So some high schools, like where I went in Ohio, 7, 8, and 9 were middle school, right? Middle school or junior high. So you have primary or elementary. Middle, it's the same thing. Middle school or junior high, depending where you're at, just depends the vernacular they use, and then you have high school, okay? What confused me in South African vernacular as I learned it is that South Africans say varsity. Varsity is high school. Varsity. There's a television show famous here in a long time called Varsity. What was with the camera? Somebody just jumped into my stream. It just faded. Varsity, never seen that before. If you're controlling my channel, please, Chinese communist, let me get through my broadcast before you harass me. Anyway, so there's a TV show called Varsity Blues. Well, Varsity Blues is not about tucks or matis, or ickies. It was about high school, because varsity to us is high school. So, so that's a little confusion between the vernacular. So there you go. 1 through 6, 7 and 8, and 9 through 12, and you graduate. Students who don't do well and fail classes typically have to go to summer school and repeat their classes before they can advance the next year. Some students are held back. A lot of students who come here from abroad, foreign nationals who come here with their parents as immigrants or refugees or something else, typically, especially if English isn't their first language, wind up repeating a grade. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's terrible. It's not terrible. It's a gift. Think about it. If you come here, you're 14, you don't speak English very well, and we put you in a school with your peers, you're going to fall behind, have terrible grades, and you'll never get into university. But if you get a free year by going and repeating a grade you've already succeeded at back at home, then that gives you a year to learn English and learn it well enough that you don't fall behind your peers. Also, if you're an athlete, you're a little more physically developed. You might get a scholarship to go to university to play a sport, so keep that in mind. But a lot of parents do that just so their kids get acclimated. It's not a bad idea. But younger kids is not necessary. Third graders coming in, fourth graders, fifth graders, you don't need to put them behind. Just put them with their peers. They learn English very quick. Kids are like sponges when they're little. They just suck up those languages left and right. That's what hurts so much for me. I grew up in poverty in the middle of nowhere in Appalachia. Didn't learn any foreign languages. And then when I tried to learn foreign languages, I was an adult, and it's a lot harder to learn it. In fact, I'm learning my most recent foreign language instruction I learned in my mid to late 30s, and that wasn't so easy. Your brain's already formed. Those neural pathways are already rigid. They're not flexible like a sponge when you're a little kid. And I say sponge, but it's true. Your brain is very flexible when you're young. It can adapt very easily. I mean, we've had people that had accents and lost half their brain, and they function perfectly fine because enough of the brain is left and it takes over the functions when they're kids. Yep, so there you go. Yeah, well, Stella, that's because varsity is high school. It's not college. So next Monday, a week from yesterday, next Monday, you have the varsity championship for rugby at Mahdi's, at Stellenbosch with UCT. Well, if you tell them American varsity, they think you're going to a high school game. A bachelor's degree in America is a 4-year degree. So when it comes to university, we go high school. Then if you go to tertiary education, that's colleges, technical schools, vocational schools, goes beyond high school. After you graduate from high school, then you go on. That's either at a public institution, state funded, but you still have to pay. It's less. Or it's at a private institution or for-profit commercial institution. So you go on to a vocational school, you learn HVAC skills to be a high voltage alternating current technician, which pays, or to be a plumber, to be an electrician, to be a miller or something like that. You go and you do all that. There are schools for that. Then we have community colleges. Community colleges are meant to really prep students for to finish their bachelor's studies. You go on to a bachelor's degree. California has a large community college system. Not every state has a community college system. So you go to community college system, and typically it's near home because there's lots of branches. It's smaller, and you're getting courses in math and English and your basic skills, your basic social sciences, and those sorts of things. And then in your junior year, you'll typically go on to university. California is well known for that. So you might go to, Chatsworth nearby, and then you go to UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, for your last 2 years. Or you might enroll at UCLA for all 4 years. It just depends. Typically, people go to community colleges who have less money, or when they want to be close to home, or they're not sure if they're going to continue in college. It's a taste, but it does count towards your degree. I never did any such thing. Now, many schools also offer associate's degree programs at a full university. So I went to the University of Maryland when I was in school in the Army. I went at night and on weekends when I wasn't deployed, which was very difficult. I had fantastic grades, but I didn't learn a whole lot, to be honest, because we would have a term where you start and you have classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I have class for 3 weeks, and then the term would stop because we went to an exercise for 3 weeks. We come back, and a month later, we resume our classes. Well, I've been working 18-hour days out in the woods, keeping generators running, moving antennas, jumping from site to site, eating meals ready to eat, getting no sleep, exhausted, on guard duty. And then I come back and I have to remember what the hell I was studying over a month ago. Yeah, so I did earn an associate's degree. So I have a 2-year degree from the University of Maryland in general studies. So I earned that degree. That was a goal for the Army. Back in the 1980s, they wanted their NCOs to have university education, so they paid 90% of your tuition, which was a pretty good deal if you were a sergeant or a staff sergeant. When I was a private and a specialist, they paid 75%. I made sergeant, they paid 90%. I took every class I could get my hands on and got an associate's degree. Then I returned to my undergraduate at Ohio University, which is where I'd started after high school and then left after a year. And I finished my degree in about 2 years, 4-year degree with the credits I transferred back. So that got me a bachelor's degree. After that, my next program was at Iowa State University, where I studied postgraduate, and that was a master's program in arts. And that master's was MS or MA? Maybe it's MS. Anyway, that was a multidisciplinary degree in which I studied international political economy, IPE, cultural geography, cultural anthropology, not cultural geography, cultural anthropology, and then community and regional planning, bringing them all together to do a thesis on the housing subsidy program for South Africa back in 1995 timeframe. After that, I did a postgraduate degree in international relations that was an MS, with Troy University in international relations. And then I did a postgraduate program, another master's degree program with the Army War College, in which I received a master's strategic studies. Yeah, so there you go. So then you can continue on to do a PhD, but I'll tell you, 3 master's degrees don't equal 1 PhD. I'm not a doctor, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's kind of how the education system works. It can be quite expensive these days because the inflation. The inflation in education is demonstrably higher than it has been in any other field. They pass on the cost because the government stole the student loan program, which was meant to help those who don't have sufficient income go to university if they wanted to. You just had to pay it back. But the student loan program was corrupted, perverted, stolen by the communists, the socialists under Barack Hussein Obama. They took a program in which the government guaranteed the loan for poor people, and then the private banks made the loan to the person, but at an interest rate that the government determined, so it wasn't excessive. Although when I made my loan in 1982, it was 9%. Yeah, because the prime lending rate was 14%, but it was a bargain compared to prime lending rate. But we have students today who are getting 1% interest, and they're whining about paying their loans back because they're deadbeat, scumbag, useless, no moral value, whiny crybabies. So the Obama administration stole the program from the private sector, and now the government, in other words, you and me, the taxpayer, we loan the money to students, and they loan it to everybody. It isn't based on need. Oh, you want money? You can borrow. Here you go. So what do? They go on spring break. They buy iPads. They buy cell phones. They probably buy their drugs. They sure as hell don't buy their contraception. They expect us to buy that. Yeah. So the student loan program has exploded in debt and the amount of money. And so because there's more money available, schools charge more because they know the money's going to be there. And so the cost of education has increased. The actual dollar, inflation-adjusted dollar cost of attending Ohio University today in 2025 compared to when I graduated in 1989 is about 360% higher in real dollars. So if it was 1989, I would have had to pay almost 4 times as much for my education then to get the same education that they get today. Now, how is that just? It's not. It's not. And why? Because of diversity, equity, inclusion, because all these idiotic programs, because they are having sumptuous buildings and institutes built that are unnecessary. So this happens all across, and education gets unaffordable for many people. But the bottom line is most people don't need to go to university. In America, we got this in our mindset, our generation from World War II, the greatest generation, bullshit, there's no greatest generation, but the greatest generation wanted their progeny to do well and expected to go to college so they weren't, carpenters and masons and plumbers because, oh my gosh, you have to get an education, be erudite. Well, that went from education to nonsense in the 60s, and we went to these gender studies and queer studies and all these ridiculous degrees and climate and all these other things that really have no bearing on the real world, and people can't get jobs in those fields. And so it's a complete waste of time and money, and all these people aspire to go to university, and that led to an explosion in the number of colleges and universities built in this country. We already had a pretty extensive system. We have a massive one now, and it's just too many people get an education. And the more people have an education, the greater demand you have for educators. The more educators you need, the lower quality educators you get. There's only so many people who have talent to be in that pool. And so it's caused a whole bad loop of things. Most people should never go to university. But in America, about 1 out of 3 people attend at least one college class in their lifetime. 1 out of 3. That's pretty high. On the entire planet, less than 1% of human beings ever attend 1 minute of a university course. But in America, it's 1/3. And about 24% of Americans have got to graduate from university. Does that help? Does that help, guys? Gerard wants to know if Xi Jinping will change the name to something wrong. Something wrong. Yes, something is wrong. My son's 4. They teach them to count to 3 in school. Good Lord. Only teach them how to count to 3? Yeah, too many people get the wrong education around the world. Well, here's a major shortcoming of our education system in America is that we don't teach financial literacy. That's not the norm in schools. So our schools, when students are juniors in high school and then become seniors, maybe they should start when they're sophomores, but frankly, juniors and seniors for sure, they should be teaching people what a checking account is, what a savings account is, how banks work, fees for banking, no banking fees, certificates of deposit, mutual funds, money market accounts, credit cards, home loans, car loans. These are things, retirement savings. These are things that should be taught and start out easy with checking accounts, savings accounts, boom, how you save money. Show the power of compounding. Show what happens if you start maybe making money and saving it at even a couple dollars a week at the age of 17. By the time you're retirement age, you've got a fortune just because of the power of compounding. But if you wait till you're 30, that pile is much smaller. And not just, it's not a fraction, it's demonstrably small. If you wait till you're 40, it's very small. Wait till you're 50, there's almost nothing there. It's too late. You have to start and use the power of compounding throughout the course of your life and put aside money that you can afford to put aside and save and invest it so that when you're older, it's there. Anyway, and teach them how Social Security works and all that stuff. But we don't do that. And as a consequence, we have a functionally illiterate financial society. which is great for banks. People get credit card debt paying 29% interest. They never get out of debt. I have credit cards, but I pay them off every month. I don't use them unless I have the money to cover the expenses. It's perfect because it's secure. I mean, in America, you're protected by Congress. If your credit card is stolen in America, as long as you report in a timely fashion, which is like Afrikaner in the refugee program, is not defined by Congress. Congress doesn't say, what a timely matter is. It doesn't say if it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 7 days, but most banks will consider if you report it within a week, because sometimes you don't know a card's stolen. Could have been stolen out of your house. You didn't know about it. You're on the road. But if you report it in timely fashion, you can only be held liable for $50. That's it. If someone takes your credit card and goes and buys a car with it, or buys a bunch of booze and spends thousands of dollars, legally all you're liable for is $50. Now, if you have a debit card tied to your checking account, they can clean your account out and take every penny out of there. And it's up to the bank whether they refund your money and restore it to you or not. It's up to them. And that's a very difficult position to be in. Whereas if your credit card, somebody had compromised my credit card, not me. I had the card in my possession when I lived in Botswana. And they booked a plane ticket from Heathrow to Hong Kong in Cathay Pacific, one way, $1,200. I'm like, what the hell is this? Contact the bank. Because I saw it. I said, I didn't do this. I mean, I'm in Botswana. You know that. You know that I'm here. You see me using the damn thing to buy petrol all the time and groceries here. And I told you where we're living at. And I tell you when I travel, I leave the country. I'm not in the UK. I didn't tell you I was there. And so they didn't charge me anything. Most time banks won't charge anything for that fraud because they want to keep you as a customer. $50 is nothing to them. But they either tried to recoup the $1,200 or took it off, but it was cleared out. So that's a nice feature about America. I don't think any other country does that. Congress rarely does anything to help us. That was one time they helped us a couple decades ago, is to protect the consumer. It was actually a very good idea. My 5-year-old is in Montessori school, can count to 50, speak Afrikaans, English, and Spanish, able to count in all three. Well, that's awesome. There you go. Children with ADHD, dyslexia, and there are schools just for them. No, there aren't schools just for them. That would be discriminatory and segregationist. There are programs to help kids with those issues, but most kids... Well, you didn't give an age, but there are coaches and methods, and sometimes special teachers help kids out with those. I don't know what an SID is. I know what an SID is. I know what ADHD is and dyslexic. Yeah, those are things those are services available for kids in school. Yep, there are federal programs to help with that. Your son has ADHD and Asperger's, and he does okay in normal school. Well, Asperger's is very different. There are very different levels of Asperger's. Many Asperger's can function perfectly fine in schools to learn, that is. So warn them about staying away. Well, we have schools for children who are mentally handicapped, mentally retarded. I mean, not to offend anybody. Some people are offended by the term, but it's no reason to be offended by it. We do have those programs. Yeah. There are schools for those kids specifically. Staying in cheap hotels here in the U.S. and paying with your credit card. I had an employee at a hotel use my credit card a year after I stayed there. That does happen. Yeah, well, there's no point in staying in cheap hotels because cheap hotels aren't that cheap. I mean, the average hotels can cost you $100 a night anywhere in the country. That's just about what you're going to get. You might, if you get a sale or a night off, or it's a slow night, or you book online through a loyalty program, you might get it for less. But you just need to figure at least $100 a night for a hotel. So 2,000 Rand a night is what your hotel's going to cost you. I rarely have ever paid 2,000 Rand a night for a hotel, even top class in South Africa. So, yeah, does that help? Dan Bailey's in from Wyoming. Dan. Dan Bailey's in from Idaho, folks. Go to Idaho. It's the gem state. It's for you. It's for you. For the refugees out there. Idaho is the place to go. It's the gem state. Go to Coeur d'Alene. They got a lovely lake. You want to go to Coeur d'Alene, not Wyoming. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, the gem state. Yeah, you know, right? Dan, that's better. Nebraska. Go to Cornhusker country. Go to Nebraska. You'll love Nebraska, folks. It's lovely. It reminds you of the Highveld. There you go. Go to Nebraska. That comes with crabs and bedbugs. Try. I don't know where you're staying, Art. You and your luxury corporate elites. No. Hampton Inn. Never seen a bedbug in a Hampton Inn in my life. Hilton. Never seen a bedbug in my life in a Hilton property. Never seen a bedbug in a Marriott property. Nope. Well, I didn't do any stupid crap, Reg, and I was born in the 60s. Boys, a lot of people are kids with autism here. It's shocking. How about Montana? Montana's lovely. Speaking from a legal perspective, in one university only, true critical thinking was only in the past year. LLB had to wait 6 years for that. Well, It depends on who teaches. I had some very inspirational teachers in high school just by happenstance in a public school in Appalachia, which is amazing. David Kunkler and Steve Householder, two that come to mind. Wonderful instructors, wonderful teachers in school, and they inspired me. Whether it was intent, I think it was their intent, in retrospect, but at the time I didn't realize that they were trying to inspire me to go to university. I thought I was smart. At university, I had a few instructors who were just fantastic. I remember Baxter was my historical research and writing class. That was one of the most useful classes I ever had in my life, and it was jam-packed because all history majors had this mandatory class you had to take in order to get a history degree. And it was fantastic. It taught me how to properly research and write, but I took it as a senior. I wish I'd been able to take it a couple of times, and it was fantastic. He was a very boring guy. I mean, his teaching style was not that interesting, but the course was fascinating, and he did a good job. Also, Alan Booth was one of my history teachers at Ohio University, a former naval intelligence officer, a brilliant guy, knew Africa, knew South Africa really, really well. I truly, truly enjoyed his classes and learned a lot from him. Yeah, so it's just, and those guys, as a consequence of having them as an instructor at university, taught me to begin to think critically on my own. So, yeah. Gordon, it's cold here, man. Ooh, man, the temperature dropped like 30 degrees Fahrenheit, freezing. It was just about freezing. I went out and picked up the last of my raspberry bushes to repair my raspberry patch today, and it was too windy and too cold to go out there, even though the sun was shining this afternoon, to plant them. I was going to plant them when I came home, but that's a bust. I got my projects this weekend. I got to get done before I go because it's getting late in the season now. It's already April. I've got to get them planted, but they won't produce by June. So I did buy a larger one, and so I picked those up. But they had a big sale on mulch. I got red mulch for my front out by my sidewalk, and it was $2 a bag. That was a bargain. Those things are selling for like $6 a bag usually, so they got tons of it. They must have gotten over shipment. Heard on East Coast radio news yesterday that they're concerned about mental health in South Africa. Well, I can believe that based on some of the comments I see in some of my videos. Did you hear about the state witness? Yes, I covered that. Yeah, I covered that, yep. Because they don't have security, proper security there. That's how people get shot in courthouses. But remember last year, Christine Gumina, I think Gumina was her name, was murdered walking out of that courthouse, the same one in Windberg. Yeah, they got a serious problem in that town. Bozeman is popular after the whole California's there. Yeah, Bozeman, Montana. You can have that, though. Yep. Anyway, so I answered the question about education in school. I hope that gets you guys a little further down the road understanding how things work here in the States. Why is Stella laughing? It's China's birthday today. China. Well, we are now at 100% for tariffs. Let's take a quick look. I want to take a gander and see if we've got any news on that. It's in effect. Let's see if any of the newspapers are covering that story at this hour. It's in effect. Asian markets fall before Trump's 104% tariff takes effect. Trump's tariffs take effect. Live updates on China global stock markets. Here we go. Investors brace for another rocky day of trading. South Korea and Japan sent delegations to Washington to negotiate, while China says it will fight the latest levies. Good luck with that. Trump's tariffs took effect just after midnight, 17 minutes ago, on Wednesday, hitting nearly all U.S. allies with punishing new levies, raising import taxes on Chinese goods to more than 100%, and sending governments racing to negotiate reductions. Yep. China has retaliated with its own levies, and other countries have drawn up plans targeting American exports. As losses mount in the stock market around the world, other governments have rushed to schedule phone calls, send delegations to Washington, and submit proposals to lower their import taxes to avoid the tariffs. Trump said it's up to 70 governments have now approached the United States, and they began official talks with Japan and South Korea about this. Yep. Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba of Japan has tapped one of his closest aides to lead negotiations. Roshia Akawazawa holds a half dozen titles in Ishiba's government, including Minister of Economic Revitalization. So he has come to negotiate with the United States. Trump tariffs for the 20 largest trading partners. China is now 104%. Let's take a look at these, and we'll see. Okay, here we go. All right. So there we go. Maybe a little bit bigger. There you go. So China, February 4th was 10%, March 4th plus 10%, April 9th, 84%. China now has a 104% tariff on all goods imported from China. Mexico's 25%, Canada's 25%, European Union 20%, Japan 24%, Vietnam 46%, South Korea 26%, Taiwan 32%, India 27%, and United Kingdom. So there's the top 10 trading partners. Now let's see the rest. Switzerland 32%, Thailand 37%, Malaysia 24%, and then Singapore, Brazil 10%, Indonesia 32%, Israel 17%, Colombia, Turkey, and Australia 10%. That's our top 10 trading partners. You'll notice that South Africa is not one of them. They are a rounding error, not of any consequence whatsoever to the U.S. economy or trade, not even remotely. So people think that's the case, really need to get beyond that. 100% for the, oh yeah, it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong, man. The Chinese want to play chicken. We'll see what happens. What's your take on the recent news on the targeted sanctions bill put forward? Action SA also put forward a most wanted list. Well, it's not a targeted sanctions bill. That's people are mischaracterizing it. It does include targeted sanctions potentially, but that's not what the bill is about. That's just to send a message to the donkeys in South Africa who can't get their head out of their ass. So this is the bill. What's my take on it? I made a video on it. Guys, can't you? Come on, Mr. QB. Can't you watch my videos, man? I made a video about this. Good gosh. In fact, my video was featured in Biz News. Biz News used my content. In fact, let's go to that video. Gosh, these glasses are dirty. Content. Let's find that video. So, where's it at? Oh, yeah, 31,000 views. No wonder you guys aren't watching it. That's why. I got an ad I got to get through here. There you go. Here's my take on that.
Hey folks, welcome back. This is Chris in central Pennsylvania along world famous Yellow Breeches Creek, the home of fly fishing out here. In fact, it's spring and a number of anglers are out here actually fishing at the moment. I want to bring you this story because I was hoping I wouldn't have to, but in fact, the irresponsible media in South Africa forced me to do this. So unlike the media in South Africa, there are real journalists there, but many of the media in South Africa simply tell you fairy tales, myths, and distortions, disinformation, misinformation, while accusing anyone who reveals the truth to be a purveyor of such things. Well, I'm not going to name names this time. I'm not going to mention which news outlets, but already at least one broadcast outlet has already started spreading misinformation about what's happening with the proposal, a resolution that's going before the House. Now, this resolution has yet to be numbered. It will be from Representative Ronnie Jackson, the former personal physician of President Trump during his first term. Ronnie Jackson is now a congressman who represents the 13th district in Texas, and he put together this proposal, which I've already reported on. But let me be very clear about this story. First off, this is being introduced to the House. It's a piece of legislation. It will have to be going into a committee, be voted on committee, go to the floor, be passed by the floor, go to the Senate, be reviewed in committee, then go to the floor of the Senate, be voted up or down, or amendments to send it back to the House. So this is not exactly something that's happening right now. However, on February 6th of 2024, during the Biden administration, there was a bill put forward, which didn't go anywhere, but it's a bipartisan bill by Democrats and Republicans to reassess the relationship with South Africa, the bilateral diplomatic relationship, because South Africa was accused of harming U.S. national interests and our national security interests. Now, I've reported on this extensively. This is resurfaced. This time, it's a proposal by Representative Ronnie Jackson of Texas. Here's the resolution. It's 15 pages long. Last year's, as I recall, was just 6 pages. This one is 15 pages long. So that speaks volumes, folks, 15 pages. And the list of egregious offenses or allegations is much more extensive than what they had last year. And many of them come directly from the things I've reported on that are either in the press or that I was aware of and made you aware of. But now it's in this 15-page resolution, which could become a law. So this law calls for something that doesn't exist. We've already seen people from Stellenbosch University go on Newsroom Africa. We've already seen other people falsely claim in most of the media outlets in South Africa that the United States has applied sanctions to South Africa, complaining and misrepresenting their misinformation, intentional disinformation to distort the view of America, blaming America for sanctions, non-existent sanctions. The only action the U.S. government has taken vis-a-vis South Africa of late has been the executive order on, well, there's a fish jumping out of the water right there. Yeah, that's why people are here fishing. The only action they've just jumped up right out of the water. The only action they've taken, oh, there he goes again. Maybe he doesn't like what I've got to say. I stick my hand out and catch myself dinner.
That video was featured in business. They took the clip of that and they asked my permission. I used it. So my question is, what do I think? It's not a sanctions bill, but it does include the possibility of sanctions. It's a review of relations with South Africa. So that's what that is. That's my view on that. As far as antibiotics, Holden's trying to be a snarky fellow. So antibiotics are going to triple in price. Well, Holden, some of us are smart, and some of us stock up on antibiotics. Okay, so taken care of. Also, when Trump was elected president in November, I knew that tariffs were coming. And I've told my viewers that back in November. And what did I do? I knew that getting components for electronics were become much more challenging. So I went out and in November, I saved my money up for a few months before that. And in November, I ordered myself a brand new laptop. So I have a new laptop because my other one was a piece of crap and it was 7 years old. And it took an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to boot up. I couldn't use it. So knowing that these prices would be getting jacked up, if I could afford a new car, I would have bought a new car because I could use a new car. But I'll just meander along for however long I need to with my old car. Anyway, so, some of us prepare for these things because we have attention to pay attention. So I'm not worried about antibiotics. I stocked up because I was prepared for what was coming. But antibiotics will go up in price because America's allowed the drugs that we develop at billions of dollars expense. Once they're off of patent protection, we allow them to be manufactured overseas instead of making them here. So yes, you're right about that, Holden. Are you a family? What's this? Oh. Natasha Makarega, welcome to you. Karen Long says, Southern politicians are just fine. They won't suffer. That's true. It's real easy. Drop your tariffs and the U.S. will drop theirs. No need for countries to be such drama queens. Exactly, RG. Exactly. Fair trade benefits people. Asymmetric trade benefits politicians. Well, there's a reason why people have tariffs. It's to raise money, but also it's to protect their industry. It's not competitive. I'm not a big biz news fan. I also missed your video. You don't have to apologize, Mr. QB. I'm just making a point. My point is I was on top of the story. Most stories people talk about, I'm on top. But you guys catch me with some stories I don't know about sometimes, especially for South Africa because I'm not there, so sometimes it's a little hard to keep up. Alf Henning just subscribed. Thank you for subscribing, Alf. So, gosh, guys, how many videos have we done since January? It's insane. We're approaching 73,000 subscribers, and I had a few videos today. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. So, 3 prepared videos today. They did okay, not great. Yesterday we did much better. I said something about Malema. Today I did Malema, they only did 23,000. So anyway, maybe they felt the other was better. I'm not sure. But so yesterday we had the second best day ever on my channel for views. 247,000 views, which outdistances the top, gets you in the top 10 for media sites in South Africa. It's pretty amazing. And the day before, so we're doing well here. We've only dipped below 100,000 views. The last time was March 22nd, so it's been a while, but everything over that. Our biggest day was on Friday. It was 421,000 views. Incredible, folks. Thank you for doing that. Really do appreciate it. And the subscribers are coming. But we're a little slow now. We've dropped off. Yesterday went well. We had a lot yesterday, and today's we're just not so great. I'm not sure why. Maybe because I released them earlier. I'm not sure. But tomorrow my videos will be a little bit later because I'm tied up early on. So Cobus, Fourie has become a member. Thank you, Cobus. Okay. Drug-free and definitely including alcohol, says Mickey Dangerous. South Africa, we have car guards. America, they can become Tesla guards. Ludwig, you might need Tesla guards. You're right. Wow. Wonder how the insurance industry will be impacted in South Africa. That's a good question. Marianne Murray, welcome to you. Odin's Viking is back. Christo Cloto, welcome to you. Xavier, good to see you again. Shouldn't get car guards. They like electric insect traps. It's all the negotiation around the beard that's slowing subscriptions. I don't know about that. I got more tulips. Where the heck did I put those at? I got more tulips, guys. I put them out. I picked up another batch of tulips today. Yeah. AI turrets, and I put some turrets on there. Magda Brendenham Peterse, good morning to you. All right, so we do have actually, hang on a second here. Why does that say? That's weird. Anyway, so where's the news at? Here you go. So we are in effect, folks. The Trump tariffs have jacked up for China. Yeah, boy. China, watch out, baby. So here you go. Trump's new tariffs take effect, upending global trade. U.S. hits China with a 104% tariff, and stocks slide. U.S. stock futures and Asian equity markets dropped as President Trump's reciprocal tariffs on nearly 100 nations took effect. That includes a 104% tariff on Chinese imports. Contracts tied to the S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial, and NASDAQ 100 indexes fell between 1.3 and 2%. Japan's Nikkei fell more than 3%. Trump defended the tariffs at Tuesday dinner with House Republicans, said levies on pharmaceutical products made abroad will be announced very shortly. U.S. stocks ended lower Tuesday, capping a volatile session that began with the hopes of newfound clarity on the president's tariff policies. There you go. There you go. Wow. As Trump's sweeping tariffs kick in, officials signal openness to talks. Oh, now they want to talk. President Trump's next round of punishing tariffs on some of America's largest trading partners was set to go into effect just after midnight, including stiff new levies that will increase import taxes on Chinese goods by at least 104%. He acknowledged it's somewhat explosive, but throughout the day he continued to defend his approach, saying it was encouraging countries with what he calls unfair trade practices to offer concessions. Yep, that's what we need. We need concessions from the trade transgressors. Mr. Soli Malazzi is pushing for TikTok to pay content creators in South Africa. It doesn't seem unreasonable. Only 7 countries actually pay TikTok creators, including the United States. Communications and Digital Minister Soli Malazzi has called for TikTok to pay South African content creators. Only 7 countries in the world are included in the TikTok Creators Fund: the US, UK, Germany, Japan, South Korea, France, and Brazil. The fund allows users with a large following to make money from the platform. Despite South Africa having more than 17 million TikTok users, creators have been excluded from the fund, with many relying on brand deals and gifts sent by users during TikTok lives to earn an income. Well, here's the problem. My TikTok account is funded. I've received $2.34 in 4 years, 5 years. $2.34, one-time got a payment. That's it. So I don't know how you make money on TikTok. I sure as hell don't. I mean, unless you're half naked and you get a bikini wax, then you can make money on there. But I don't see how you make money otherwise. But anyway, the Daily Maverick runs a story, and this one by Stephen Hertz, saying that ENU 2.0 ANC presses Control-Alt-Delete on the National Coalition. Except, Stephen, it's not the ANC's coalition to push Control-Alt-Delete. This propaganda coming from the media and from the ANC needs to stop. The government of national unity is not an ANC thing. It's an ANC DA thing. The ANC can't kick the DA out. The DA can't kick the ANC out. Both can walk away from it and it can collapse. But both are founding members, and the other members were not legitimate members. They were snuck into it by the dirty, double-dealing, underhanded behavior of the ANC after the fact. Yep. So the decision by the National Working Committee to reset the National Coalition, nobody gives a flying flip, because what are they resetting? Except their stupidity. Now, in this story here, journalist Stephen Hertz says that the DA was wrong. No, they weren't. They weren't. The DA is to make important decisions, he says. Still not clear why its leader, John Steenhuisen, decided the VAT was the hill on which he was prepared to allow the coalition to die. Perhaps, Stephen, because they don't want poor people to starve to death by paying more for consumption taxes. Why is this so hard for journalists and for analysts and for the elite in South Africa to understand? We saw the joy in the ANC politicians jumping up and down toy-toying when they won the ability to increase taxes on the poorest of South Africa's population. You see, when you increase income taxes, those exempted don't pay more taxes. Those don't pay taxes in the informal sector don't pay taxes. But when you have consumption taxes, everybody who uses those things pays consumption tax. And who does that disproportionately affect? The largest body of consumers, the poor. Disproportionately. Now, I don't think progressive tax rates are right. I think they're immoral. I shouldn't pay more because I've been successful than someone else. We should all pay the same rate. And I am willing to live within reason. Certain people with a certain income shouldn't pay anything because we can exempt them because they can't survive. And we can make that allowance, and the rest of us will carry the load for them in a social good. But I don't think it's a social good that I pay 50% of my income in taxes because I've been successful and achieved and worked hard, and someone else pays nothing or pays 10%. That isn't right. But that's how our system is set up. When it comes to consumption taxes, we all pay the same. But 60 cents on a cup of coffee for me is annoying, but 60 cents on a cup of coffee for someone who makes just a few $1,000s a year is very bad. So, yeah. Anyway, he says that the DA was wrong. Well, the DA wasn't wrong. I don't know why Stephen Hertz says that. The DA wasn't wrong. Trump ordered 1 million migrants leave immediately that applied asylum on CBP or face portion. I didn't see that anywhere. Well, they're not migrants, fight, okay? They're not migrants. They're criminal alien invaders who came here illegally, and therefore they're in the country illegally. And they can apply for asylum, but it's not legitimate. You can only apply for asylum if you legitimately enter the country and you're here. Sneaking in the country illegally and applying for asylum doesn't make it right. And 97% of people come here legally and ask for asylum are rejected. So send them home. Send them home. Well, I don't have any bikini girl. Maybe I can find one. If I ever go back to South Africa, we can get bikini girl on the program. I will have a look. What I heard was not good. I'm in Southwest Virginia, and it's heaven on earth compared to South Africa. It just isn't a lot here, but peace is everything. What do you mean there isn't a lot there, Chantel? What do you mean there isn't a lot there? Southwest Virginia is God's country. It's beautiful. What are you talking about, man? Yeah, Yaku Bassan says, cheers in South Africa government stooges. Not all of them, most of them. Yeah, socialism needs to stop. Back from school, says Gerard. Okay. Just to let you know, Chris, you definitely will make more money being half naked on TikTok. It's an option if consulted your way. Martin, I have a channel on TikTok, and it's just a fraud. I mean, I've been stuck at exactly 12,600 followers for 2 years, despite having videos that go to 800,000 views. So I don't even put time into it anymore. Can you comment on proposed South Africa legislation regarding private security? Yaku Fanikirk, I've commented on that endlessly, day after day after day. It's funny because now the media, let me jump ahead to that story. Where's that story at? The media now has woken up after Ian Cameron woke them up. But I told people the moment this thing was announced what it's going to do. You can't do this. South Africa relies on 750,000 people in the security sector. Your guard force is 750,000 people, which dwarfs SAPS, which is only 180,000 people, 185,000. So you have 750,000 people in there, many of them armed. You'll destroy private security. Can you afford to lose 700,000 jobs? Well, now the media's finally caught on. I've been telling you this for days, ever since this bill was introduced. But they're getting it from Ian Cameron. I told you this a week ago. National Assembly Chairperson, Portfolio Committee on Police and Democratic Alliance MP Ian Cameron has raised concerns to propose private security industry regulations. Yep, saying it's going to cost jobs. Well, folks, I told you that a week ago. If you can't have armed guards, then people aren't going to pay for guards. What are they going to do? Use harsh words? Please stop, you Manpara. Don't break in. You know, what are you going to do? Harsh words? Doesn't work. So Virginia is beautiful. Yep. I've been here for 7 years in our area. We have drive an hour from mall. Well, then don't complain. If you move in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing around, that's your choice. That's your choice, Chantel. Where can I find accurate information regarding the refugee program for USA? I'll be going to USA alone at first and then apply for my wife to join. Will we struggle? Well, Donik Myberg, you can't find information anywhere because it doesn't exist. You can, however, find analysis of what's likely to come from my channel, and I will help you with that right now. Obviously, you're new to the channel. So I'll put this in here. I have a Substack where I publish things occasionally. It's free. A lot of people charge for a Substack. Until Substack forces me to, I'll continue to have it for free. So you can go to my Substack. Here you go. And you can please subscribe if you don't mind. If you're going to read my content, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. But go check it out. So I'll pin that at the top, and then you'll find my list of videos on the refugee program, including the 14 most frequently asked questions. Those videos go back to the very beginning of this. I cover this from within 2 hours when President Trump announced it. There is no program. However, there are preliminary interviews taking place right now. I released a video today about an interview. You can go watch that video from today and see, what to expect in an interview, what kind of information you're going to need, that sort of thing. So yeah, all right. But as far as accurate information, you're going to get all kinds of lies. People are telling you all kinds of things, Donik, and then you can see my video discouraging people from coming here about FEMA tents. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Donik, since you're new here, I'm in a good mood. If you've got a question about the program, ask it. I'll answer it as best I can. Even if I answered 1,000, 10,000 times already, I'll answer it tonight. Okay? Because we haven't done a lot of that. So, Donik, that's an unusual name. Because you have an unusual name, I'll give you a break. Feel free to ask the question. Thank you for subscribing. In South Africa, we have a lot of it gets a state-run. We'll come back here. State-run, never machines ring. I have no idea what your lottery is doing in South Africa. I don't play lottery. Baked beans, good for the heart. Makes you toot, makes you fart. Yeah. Been introduced so people forget about Bella and AWC. Typical ANC tactic. Yep, it's a distraction. Malema gets away with what he says because the majority of Black South Africans secretly agree with his message. I don't agree with that, Edward Dos Santos. I do not agree with that assessment. We have a different opinion on that. The majority of politicians agree with that, but not the majority of Black South Africans in my experience. What's the difference between the ANC, EFA, XSA, and a flying pig? In my area, there was a beggar stabbed to death by another one, and that was standing in a spot. Yeah, that's just crazy, Yolandi. There's some mental health issues there, probably. You wear a USA flag Speedo. No, I could have wore a Speedo 18 months ago. Not now. Nope. Not going to look like one of those old toppies with a gut. Nope. I was svelte 18 months ago, but because of my injury, I'm not exercising properly, so I've put on weight, which I've never had before. Train station near me. The son and I frequent almost every morning. There were homeless camping on a roof nearby and making a mess. Okay, well, they're just going to mess it up again. Graham Alistair Krebs, but thank you for cleaning up. Karen Long says, people don't think anymore, much like yeah, they don't. Much like the comment that was said that the coalition partners fix things, the ANC will take the credit and may even win. I said that, Karen. I said that before the coalition's ever found. I said if the DA doesn't get any ministries of substance, they will get ministries that are broken, and the ANC will let them fix those things that need to be fixed, and then they'll take credit for it. And people are too stupid to see that it was actually the ANC that wasn't responsible, but the DA or other ministries. So I said that. Can I bring my dog? No, Arctic, you cannot bring your dog. And you cannot bring tulips. Okay. Zoc says, thank you for your good move. You're welcome. Can my mother be sent to a different state? Arctic? Yeah, sure. We can send her to Canada. A 51st state. Arctic is asking silly questions to make a point. Sedgefield's back. Welcome to you. Okay. All right. And Shirley's back. Not sure if you watched a video by AfriForum about our farmers over here. I've seen a lot of videos from AfriForum. Is it a recent one? You got to give me more information, Shirley. I haven't watched anything from AfriForum recently, but I've seen their productions in the past. Look, Shirley, unfortunately, I'm very familiar with the farm murder phenomena, the rural insecurity issue, which I warned South Africa and the U.S. intelligence community about when the commandos were announced for disbandment and followed that whole sad, tragic episode a long time ago. So, but yeah, Heinz baked beans. Yes, I do. It's rainy, Pretoria. Okay. So on your channel, I always saw that offset after 24 elections. Yeah, no, I said that. I said after 2024 elections, I said that's what's going to happen. So, Karen, are you saying that I wasn't thinking? I'm not sure if that's a dig at me or not. You're welcome to have a dig at me if you'd like, but I don't understand the comment. I did that analysis, and that was thought out, and it's proving to be correct. I mean, a lot of people here are getting their passports in 3, 4, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks, and other people are like, I'll never get my passport, and then poof, 3 days later, get a passport, and they're shocked. Well, that's because of Leon Schreiber, Home Affairs. Yep, cleaning the mess up. Leave the dogs behind, says Graham. Well, I don't have that sheet handy, but yes, I imagine they do send refugees to New Mexico. Just not a large number. It's not a heavily populated state. Let's see, what's this? I got so much crap here on my desk. That's not it. As I was doing my taxes. That list is here somewhere. I don't know where it's at. So, states. Anyway, it's not important right now. So, yes, they do send. They don't send them Hawaii, I can tell you that much. Yep. Anyway, all right. Let's get back to the news, and I jumped ahead, so let me get back to this. So, all right, so the Government National Union endures. The ANC refuses to expel the DA. Well, the ANC has no right to expel the DA. That's just comical. So these journalists really don't get it. They don't get it. The ANC doesn't get it either. ANC refused to expel the DA over VAT. Well, you can't. So that's just a silly argument to make. African National Congress National Working Committee has decided to maintain its working relationship with the Democratic Alliance. Whoop-de-doo. We really don't care. You have no authority to kick them out. These people are comical. Wow. The DA has condemned the hike, arguing that it disproportionately burdens low-income individuals and the working class. True. Political analysts suggest that this partnership resembles a marriage of inconvenience for the ANC, reliant on the DA for stability and governance. Of course, the ANC claims they don't depend on the DA, but of course they do. Now I want to get into some nasty, nasty op-eds. And these are race-hustling, shameful things that people are publishing. This one is from the Daily Maverick, surprise, surprise, by Kevin Bloom. And he's basically calling white people racist because he doesn't like what they have to say and calling them anti-Semites. It's really twisted. So how to normalize ethnic cleansing with the help of false binaries, Afriform, and anti-Semites. Really? So Afriform is endorsing ethnic cleansing? That's what he's implying there. Yeah, and he talks about fascists and useful bigots, and he talks about Ben Shapiro and Joel Pollack, both of whom are Jews. Anyway, he talks about Anti-Defamation League. And then he gets down here and he starts talking about closet Nazis and mangled ambulances. Closet Nazis. On March 31st, 2025, the same day that the first news reports began to appear in the Western press about the mass slaughter of Palestinian paramedics, that's a wildly disproportionate statement of what actually happened. An atrocity that would reveal its full horrors in the coming days as more of the details emerge. One of America's most influential pro-Israel media commentators, Ben Shapiro, and one of South Africa's most effective white right activists, Answers, released a pre-recorded video conversation, which had nothing to do with that. So why are you tying it to their video? He said their die was reasonable. Anyway, then Rance Roach uses a term, he says a sort of ban in place. He didn't say there was a ban, he said a sort of ban. And so this guy, Bloom, just latches on to that and says, a ban? Publicly? As in nowhere in the public domain? As in nowhere in the public domain? After 94, had anyone ever spoken about South Africa's problems? Dude, Kevin Bloom, where are you at? Are you in South Africa? Have you lived in the rest of the world? The world completely ignores South Africa. The world, as I've been telling everyone in my broadcasts since I started doing this in 2020, sees South Africa until recently through the lens of April 27th, 1994, and 12-hour queues of Omas standing in line and Tanis voting for the first time in their life. The world doesn't see what's been happening in South Africa, and that's disingenuous and intellectually dishonest for you to say anything else. Yes, the world has reported on what's happening in South Africa, but nobody pays attention. Nobody cares because it doesn't matter to the world. And then he goes on about Elon Musk having a perfectly crisp Nazi salute. Of course, he doesn't mention all the Democrats who've done the exact same thing. We have the video, we have the photographs, all the memes that came out showing all these Democrats doing the same thing. Hillary Clinton, Chucky Schumer, all of them doing the same thing. It's ridiculous. He was waving to the crowd. Anyway, idiots. So this guy goes on with that story. This is a op-ed that says nothing. The Israeli analyst Ori Goldberg, perhaps one of the bravest dissenting Jewish voices in the last 17 months, would summarize best what happened next. Can't get over the IDF killing 15 paramedics in Rafah, attempting to bury them in their ambulance, claiming they were terrorists, and then shooting to kill rescue teams sent in to find their missing friends. Not surprised, just stuck. Can't seem to move on from here. Really? Where was this anger? Now, I'm not sorry. You can accuse me of whataboutism. That's a fair complaint here. But where was this angst when women were gang raped and then executed with a bullet in the back of the head after being gang raped in full public view, people denigrating their bodies, thrown in the back of vehicles and stomped on and destroyed, and hands blown off, hand grenades thrown into constricted buildings, babies put in ovens. There was none of this teeth gnashing by these people, Ori Goldberg or Kevin Bloom. Where were you at? Good Lord. Well, Robert Byrd was actually a racist. Holden, he was actually a racist. He was a Klan member, Robert Byrd. So he may very well have done a Nazi salute. So Fikile Mabalula once again tries to gaslight the world, saying there's no basis to sanction ANC leaders in the face of U.S. proposed sanctions. Well, Fikile, you're wrong, buddy. You're wrong. ANC says it's well aware of the U.S. punitive tariffs, which it's described as political in character, aimed to undermine South Africa's sovereignty and delegitimize its stance on global matters. No. See, once again, this moron, it's all about South Africa. It's not. Is South Africa the only country that had increased tariffs? No. Trump applied them to almost the entire world. So how is it punitive tariffs on South Africa? It's not. If anything, they're punitive tariffs on the entire world. Ooh, South Africa's being picked on again. There's no basis for it. It's mean. Mean old Donald Trump is picking on us because he doesn't like us because he's probably an orange racist. Ooh, Donald Trump. Ooh, Fakile. Dude. 15 pages of offenses. There's page 1. Yep. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all the things. I've shown you all the different things that they've done, and now I notice that those things have appeared in this bill. They've also appeared on Breitbart, things I've been telling you about for ages. Anyway. Said the current international climate has ushered unilateral actions, including punitive tariffs, exclusionary trade policies, and coercive diplomacy. Exclusionary trade policies? We have no exclusionary trade policy. You can trade with us. Your policies are exclusionary. You had access to a go. We gave you duty-free access. What did you do with it? You shit all over us. You pissed down our leg. You insulted us. I don't know what Donald Trump says about keep his America, we'll keep our South Africa. Yeah, okay. Does that sound familiar? I don't know what Donald Trump has to say. Yeah. Can I find that video? It's here somewhere. Yeah, it's not there. One day I'm going to sort all that out. Anyway. Brilliant when you go off like that. Priceless. Yep. South Africa loves their bubble and politicians milk it. Yep. Masses don't care. Don't even know there's a VAT increase coming. Yeah. Well, they'll know when the price goes up. Maybe they'll know. Karen Lang says rescinding of American aid, reviewing of AGOA continuation tariffs being applied globally. Correct. It's not just South Africa. That's why. See, that's why South Africa lost all its aid, because they whined about it, so they got what they wanted. Sound like a South Park character, high pitched accent, Chris. I'm not really a big South Park fan, but I know what you're talking about. ANC have deliberately dumbed down the nation in order to stay in power. 30 years of failure is on them. Yeah. No, you're right. Well, it's true. I've been saying that for years. Yep. It's a letter from a farmer's brother-in-law floating around about how his brother-in-law's farm is expropriated now. He's been struggling to get people off his farm. I'm not. I think someone might have sent me that, but I haven't had time to look at it. If all the coal mines opening in America, they're going to need truck drivers to move this coal. I would like to throw my name in. Well, we need truck drivers for everything. It's always a market that has jobs. Why is Christo canceling AF reform? What's that all about? Why are you canceling AF reform, Christo? What did they do? No, I didn't see a list of farm murders from March. Well, Goering von Svanpusky, what WhatsApp group? Wasn't posted in my group, because no one can post in my group, so I don't know. I don't know what group you're talking about. Yeah, you have to provide your race down as a property owner. Yeah, you know why that is. Yeah. Will Trump move deep in South Africa's foreign debt? Yeah, guess what? Because the rand is sinking, your borrowing just got a little more expensive. Yep. South Africa will pay considerably more than originally envisioned if it follows through on plans to raise foreign debt after President Trump's imposition of reciprocal tariffs. South Africa's sovereign spread, the premium investors' demand to hold the country's dollar bonds rather than treasuries, has since jumped to its highest level in almost 2 years. It's widened in line with global credit spreads, which were up to 100 basis points from very low levels. In its March 12th budget review, the National Treasury said it plans to raise $14.6 billion over the next 3 years to meet its foreign exchange commitments from multilateral development banks, international financial institutions, and capital markets. Well, let me tell you something. You're going to raise that money from capital markets, not unless you offer 15% interest rates. It ain't going to happen. That's junk bond status. You're gray listed. You're junk bond. No one wants your debt. So the capital markets are largely out. International financial institutions, good luck with that. Good luck with that, because if you go to the IMF and the World Bank, who is the biggest vote getter in those institutions? Who hosts those institutions? Who has undue influence on those institutions? Well, that would be these United States. So good luck with that. Some of their statements I didn't agree with, Colonel, and I've been paying them for a couple years now. I need that money. Fair enough, Christo. Do what you got to do, brother. I just, if you don't agree with what they say, that's your prerogative. I was just curious why you're dropping them if something happened, because a lot of people were angry with them a few weeks back. So I was just curious. You don't have to explain to me, but thank you for sharing, Christo. South Africa like to play the victim, so when anything goes against them, they act the victim. This self-entitlement has finally caught up with them, thanks to Trump. Yep, Charles. Yeah, we are drinking from the same Kool-Aid. Yeah, it's almost 20-1, isn't it, Etienne? Yep. 2 small dogs, about 5,000 plus, have to take them for blood tests, and you have to get them chipped as well. They're going to have a chip in them. What's your opinion on SBB? Heinrich Goethe-Bosch. Is that the Sightland Civil Defense Organization? Is that what that is? SBB? Please clarify before I comment. My uncle and aunt left for Canada in the 90s. They were in their 40s, so it's time for me to leave, says Tomahawk. Yeah, it's tanking. Yep. I am like the Trump administration colonel on open books, says Christo. Okay. Heinrich says yes. Well, what is my take on it? Well, I have a personal relationship with Vena Tutoy, retired colonel from the South African Defense Force. My experience with him is limited to the past 5 years, in person, on our broadcast, and what I know of him historically, and I find him to be an honorable person. He is the person that leads that organization. I'm familiar with what they're doing, what their intent is, what their goals are, what they hope to achieve. And unless they've changed it, unless they've lied to me, which I have no indication of, I think they're an organization that's trying to help people when things go bad. So that's my take on SBB. Yep. Yolanda's never ashamed to be white, never was. Well, you shouldn't be. Nobody should be ashamed to be white or black. That's another thing. So that's where I'm going to take issue with Gabriel Krauss. His language is very imprecise, and it's going to cause. I think he did this so he get published, but I've had Gabriel Krauss on the program before, but I'm going to take exception to something he said. Amelia says so pretty well. Heard yesterday EFF planning to take down Iran. Yeah, I've heard it was canceled. They probably can't find their way there. Well, it's good that you're 70s kids. That means you're younger. I need a younger audience here. Give me some younger folks here. All right, Isaac van Arda. Where are you going, Isaac? Go back to work. Okay, going to work. Okay, where can I get my white entitlement card? Yeah, well, there isn't any such thing, Charles. It doesn't exist. There's the racist card, racism card, but that's lost its value. All right, I covered that. And so Fikile Mabalula says ANC is not beholden to the DA, but in fact they are, folks. They are. Without the DA, Cyril Ramaphosa wouldn't be president. Case closed. Fikile Mabalula. Case closed, man. You really know what you're talking about. Charles, you're younger than me. Artie, you're not even close to being the youngest. Nice try. So here we go. This is from Gabriel Krauss, and it's a response to Kanana Hunter. So they have the same photograph. I mean, you think they could at least put a different photograph here. So this is Gabriel Krauss's response to Kanana Hunter. It says, Musk wannabes have blown their cover. This is very condescending and insulting op-ed, and I've talked about this previously. And she talks about people like Hersoff have seized on this rhetoric, using it to support their narrative that transformation policies are, in fact, destroying the country. According to them, there are many wealthy South Africans who love the country but would never invest here, citing transformation policies as a reason. He's clearly pushing a right-wing agenda, one he would openly endorse. He contends that South Africa is a critical juncture and advocates for battle against socialism. His vision calls for free markets, deregulation, and unyielding focus on economic growth. That's not right-wing. You see, Kanana Hunter, you leftists are so confused. Free markets, deregulation, and an unyielding focus on economic growth are not right-wing. They're liberal policies. They're liberal policies. Liberal. Let's say the words coming out of my mouth. Liberal, Kinana, liberal. They're not right-wing. Good God. Where do these people get their education? Where did she go to school at? Where did you go to school, Kinana? Right-wing. They're traditional liberal market values. Good Lord. Seized on the rhetoric to support his narrative. Well, transformation policies are racist. Flat out. There's no question about it. You give someone advantage based on their skin color, that only fact. You're a racist. You believe one group's better than another. They should be elevated above another group. That's just wrong. That's morally wrong. That's abhorrent. That's what the National Party did. And you can't justify it because the National Party did it. You do not do that. You want to balance the scales. You want to ensure fairness for those who were kept behind in the past. You fix education. You ensure a safe public environment. You allow entrepreneurs to flourish, to hire people. And then you have a functioning court system so that someone can seek right of redress if they're wrong based on their skin color. That's how you fix that. You don't steal from education and take the money meant to buy textbooks for black kids. You don't put abolition units out there that are not in existence. You don't build 500,000 rand soccer fields that really cost 15,000 to make. You don't steal and pilfer and race hustle. You don't neglect South Africa's poor population and then blame it on Jan van Riebeck and Hendrik Verwoerd and apartheid. And you sure as hell don't lie about apartheid. And Gabriel Krauss does that too. And I'm going to mention that when I get to his. But Kanana Hunter, this vile one came out. She starts talking about George Floyd. Stop with the George Floyd nonsense. He's a criminal who wasn't murdered by the cops. The cop was railroaded and put in prison. The man was violent. If you watch the entire video, you'll see what happened. Oh, he's a racist. They killed him because he's black. Bullshit. Watch the video. Watch the entire 30-plus minute video. George Floyd is the architect of his own demise. That's a fact when you watch the entire video. The chokehold that was used to hold him when he was being dangerous and threatening the lives of others was an authorized chokehold taught to police officers by the Minneapolis Police Department. Then they tried to disavow it and lied in the court case to railroad Chauvin into prison. They called them all racist. One of the dudes was Asian, one of the dudes was Hispanic, and a white guy. And they called them all racist. George Floyd died from drug-related overdose. That's what the coroner said. The report's there, but still, conviction for murder. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Lives destroyed because this scumbag tried to pass counterfeit currency and then refused to exit the vehicle when police asked him to exit the vehicle. By the way, they never show you the part of the vehicle where there was a black guy in the front seat with him. The police asked the black gentleman to step out of the vehicle. He did. He was released. He walked away from the scene. Nothing happened to him because he followed police instructions. He didn't threaten anyone's life. Yep. So then she goes on and on. So that whole thing is disgusting. I saw hers. Now, Gabriel Krause responds to it, and they use the exact same photograph. Gabriel Krause says that News 24 columnist Kanana Hunter argues there's a concerted effort to undo the progress of the past few decades. It's a scary, scary world. What progress, Kanana Hunter? What progress are we undoing? The 30% graduation standard? The 34 million black South Africans living in abject poverty when it was just 8, 9 million in the National Party? The collapse of South Africa's infrastructure? What progress has been made when you persecute minorities and you don't have an equal justice system? You've simply you flip the scales around, Kanana. You've got the same thing the National Party had, except the party that's oppressed is the opposite end of the spectrum. That's all that's happened. And the difference is at least the National Party hired competent bureaucrats, competent administrators, competent educators so that the system worked. They cracked coal and made it into fuel. They had the world's first heart transplant. They had the world's most advanced artillery system, the G5, the G6. They developed one of the best attack helicopter systems in the world, the Rui Falk. They conducted military operations all over the continent successfully. They circumvented sanctions successfully. They built a modern economy. You've done nothing. Not you, Kanana, but your government now has done nothing. It's destroyed South Africa. Anyway, so that's the conclusion of their piece. Musk wannabes have blown their cover, which focuses on entrepreneur Rob Hersoff referring to a speech he made at a recent business conference, which he called for white pride. He called for white pride? That's not what I got from that. Maybe I need to watch it again. He mentioned in his talk, Hersoff mentioned Gabriel Krause's work at Privily and recommended making donations to the Institute of Race Relations, among others, to liberalize South Africa. This is welcome. The white pride stuff is not. I'm going to delve into that. Both Hersoff and Hunter have made mistakes, which each in their own way show how conversations about BEA go awry. Now, the rest of the story is almost exclusively about Rob Hersoff, not about Kanana Hunter. He says she makes mistakes, but he really doesn't call her on the carpet for that. So I'm calling Gabriel Krause on the carpet for not elaborating on her. Or did they edit it out of his op-ed? Jason Brudrick, welcome to you. Okay. Hersoff called for white pride and made white people seem scarier than they really are. Hunter flatters his ego by going further into scary talk while failing to reflect on how some quarters are eager to deal with BE. Hersoff said, what we must do is take some credit as white people for the amount of work we've done since 1994 in paying trillions in tax. That is a seriously bad idea. He should stop it now. White pride is repugnant, as is any race pride in a rainbow republic. I think that your inference on what Rob Hersoff is saying is completely wrong there. See, this is, I'm sorry, Gabriel, you've been a guest in my program. You're an erudite, you're an intelligent person, but you know very well what you've just done is a dog whistle there towards the racist. So you're saying that white pride is repugnant. So what Steve Biko said was repugnant? Was it? Was what Steve Biko proposed, was that repugnant in the 1970s? That was basically black pride. He told people, there's nothing wrong with being proud of who you are. You don't be ashamed of who you are. Be comfortable in your skin. That's what Rob Hersoff is saying there. And that's repugnant? So Biko was repugnant? Now, I'm sorry, Gabriel. I'm not buying that story. What I got from what Rod Herzog said is what I get from Steve Biko says. No one should be ashamed of who they are. You should be proud of who you are. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not white pride. That's not white pride. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that story, Gabriel. He says taxpayers of all races should be proud of what they've done. Well, there's a whole lot more to that white pride comment that Herzog is talking about. Afrikaners in particular, but white South Africans, not exclusively, but also Indians and colors, have for the past 30 years been discriminated extensively in business, in education, and many were forced out of the administration by the racist policies of the ANC, pushed out of government, pushed out of teaching, pushed out of the bureaucracy, and they had to survive, which led to a rebirth, particularly in Afrikaans culture in South Africa, in which Afrikaners became entrepreneurs, something that very few of them had done historically. Most Afrikaners, since the formation of South Africa, lived off the government teat, went into government or were in farming or mining. Now, South Afrikaners had to adapt. They became entrepreneurs and very successful until BE destroyed that. And they should be proud of what they did. So I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. And then he goes on here, so... Since Hunter's piece about Musk wannabes focused so much on the United States, it's worth noting this 70% is roughly analogous to the current U.S. Supreme Court split on affirmative action. 2 years ago, the majority famously ruled against all race preferences in university admissions. The minority wanted to keep race as a tiebreaker. But the maximum value for money option in procurement that 70% prefer here is not on the cards for anyone politically. What? Herzog falsely claimed this is because most black South Africans do not want it. He tried damning BE with faint praise by claiming most people want it because they were just too afraid of whites. Well, I didn't agree with that either, so you criticize him for that. White South Africans excel at academics and competition. Not all. Not all. He said that competing with us on merit remains a scary prospect for most black South Africans. That I didn't agree with. So anyway, so I don't understand what he's talking about the 70% here, but in the end, he barely talks about. Look, Gabriel Kaus is a smart guy, but I'm very disappointed in this op-ed. Very disappointed. Very disappointed. Well, R1 million had to be spent, folks, fixing the bad installations at the Estina Dairy Farm. This is not the Vreda Dairy Farm, but this is the Estina Dairy Farm. Pretoria Regional Court heard on Tuesday that roughly R1 million was spent fixing substandard welding at the Estina Dairy Farm. R1 million to fix welding? Good Lord. This is what happens with BE. Wow. Wow, unbelievable. And the court session was cut short because there's no water at the court. South Africa. You can't hold court because there's no water. So earlier today, Fikile Mabulu, this press conference, said that the ANC is waiting for their divorce papers from the ANC, from the DA. What a tool. The DA can walk. And I did a video earlier today in which I said he told the DA to take a hike, and I was told it was sensationalist. No, it's not. Look at this. Look at that. Right there. DA can walk. That's the headline. That's right there on the screen from News 24. Is anybody telling them that's sensationalist? I was accused of sensationalism. Zelensky claims they caught 2 Chinese fighting for Russia. Ukrainian president did not suggest they'd been sent by Beijing's military, but he pointed to their presence as further evidence that Moscow was not truly interested in peace. So what are they, mercenaries? Maybe they're mercenaries. Said 2 Chinese citizens captured while fighting in the Donetsk region. He added that Kiev had information that there are many more Chinese citizens in the enemy's units. He provided no evidence of it, though. Yeah, the dairy farm only sells skim milk. That's a good one. Nice dad joke. Argentina and the International Monetary Fund have reached an agreement on $20 billion deal to boost free market. President Milei had sought support from the Trump administration for the new IMF financing, and he'll probably get it, unlike South Africa, which won't get it. The IMF sent a statement Tuesday to reach the staff-level agreement with Argentina for $20 billion loan dispersed over 48 months. That's a lot of quan to open up their market and liberalize it. We'll see if that works. Canada says it will impose 25% tariffs on U.S. automobile imports that don't meet standards. Well, quite frankly, if U.S. cars don't meet Canadian standards, then why are you accepting them? Tariff would be on U.S.-made vehicles that aren't compliant with U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Prime Minister Mark Carney said last week that this duty was in the offing and that it was a response to Trump's administrations. Canada is the U.S.'s largest export market for cars, and officials estimate that about 8% of the 750,000 vehicles shipped to Canada aren't compliant with the trade treaty. So probably about 60,000 cars aren't compliant. So those 60,000 cars will now have a 25% tariff. Canada's talking a tough game, but it's falling apart. Falling apart, folks. Canada's economy is starting to crack under trade war pressure. Expectations of recession rise along with unemployment as the outlook for consumer demand shrinks. Things are looking grim in Canada. The tariff shock is hitting hard, said Robert Embray, an economist at Rosenberg Research. Canada's teetering on the brink of recession. Good. Good. You want to play chicken? China, you're next. Top IRS official resigns after the IRS turns over data for criminal aliens. Several top Internal Revenue Service officials, including the acting commissioner, are preparing to quit after the Trump administration pushed the agency to use its protected tax records to help Homeland Security officials deport immigrants, according to people familiar with the matter. Now, this comes from New York Times. These are not immigrants. These are criminals. Criminals, not immigrants. We have lots of immigrants here. Chantel is one of the immigrants. The agreement between the IRS and Immigration and Customs Enforcement disclosed in a court ruling on Monday is a fundamental departure from decades of practice at the tax collector, which has sought to keep information submitted by undocumented immigrants confidential. Under the terms of the deal, a partially redacted version was submitted. ICE officials can ask the IRS for information about people who have been ordered to leave the United States. So, for decades, the Internal Revenue Service has illegally hidden data from the Immigration Service about criminal alien invaders. Why do they have tax records on criminals? People who are illegally in this country. The IRS has a legal responsibility to report criminals and criminality to the U.S. government, and they're hiding it. I think all these people should be sacked. They should be charged with undermining U.S. immigration law and sentenced to 5 years in a federal penitentiary. And maybe then this nonsense will stop. Why does the IRS have tax records for criminal aliens who've invaded America? They could only be here if they've illegitimately gotten a Social Security number or if they've stolen one. And then it's identity theft. And you are protecting these people? I want these IRS officials charged with the crimes they've committed and incarcerated, found guilty. That's what I want. It's time for this nonsense to stop. Utter nonsense. Trump officials have frozen more money for elite schools that have their nose up in the air and anti-Semitic, anti-white, anti-Christian. Cornell and Northwestern. The funding pause amid civil rights investigations into both universities sharply escalates the Trump administration's campaign against elite colleges. Trump administration has frozen more than $1 billion in funding for Cornell and $790 million for Northwestern amid civil rights investigations into both schools. The move is the latest and largest in a rapidly escalating campaign against elite American universities that resulted in roughly $3.3 billion in federal funds being suspended. Why are we giving $790 million to Northwestern, $1 billion to Cornell? Why are we giving that money? Screw that. That's my money. I'm not going to those schools. I'm not benefiting from these people who get these $250,000 a year jobs. No, enough of that. Donald Trump signs orders aimed at reviving the struggling coal industry, which has been beset by attacks by climate zealots. The move includes loosening environmental rules, but it is unclear how much they can help reverse the sharp decline in coal power over the last 2 decades. Well, that's because it's intentional, not because coal isn't desired or it's not available. We have tons of coal, and it's readily available in places where it's needed, and we have the means to ship it all around, and we have the means to burn it much cleaner than it's done in the past. But the environmental wackos and the zealots have undermined the coal industry intentionally. Directs federal agencies to repeal any regulations discriminating against coal production, open new federal lands for coal mining, and to explore whether coal-burning power plants could serve new AI data centers. Well, there you go. Well done, Donald Trump. The zealots are going to lose their mind. Well, the Army will resume its horse-drawn caissons for funerals at Arlington Cemetery. The program, with longer tradition, was suspended after several equine deaths and reports of negligent treatment of horses used in funeral processions. Well, that's news to me. I didn't know they were mistreating the horses. The Army said Tuesday it was partially resuming its horse-drawn caissons program for funerals in Arlington National Cemetery 3 years after investigation found that neglectful treatment of horses had contributed to a spat of equine deaths. Major General Trevor Bradenkamp said the resumption comes after a complete overhaul of the program, in which certain deceased service members are conveyed to their graves in horse-drawn artillery caissons. Funding was boosted, Bradenkamp said. Soldier horsemanship training was revised. We had to basically reinvent the way we were doing these things. He's a commanding general, Joint Task Force, National Capital Region in the U.S. Army Military District of Washington. The most memorable of the caisson-led funerals ever was President John Kennedy in 1963, when the Army caissons and the horses led his body to the cemetery. Well, the Washington Post, once again, with its divisive politics, instead of reporting the news, says U.S. Admiral at NATO fired, the latest ouster in Trump military purge. Vice Admiral Shoshana Chatfield is at least one of 9 senior military leaders and the 4th woman removed since Trump's return to Washington. The Trump administration has fired a top Navy admiral assigned to NATO headquarters in Brussels. People familiar with the matter said Monday, the latest ouster, an ongoing purge of senior military officers that has disproportionately targeted women. Disproportionately targeted women. How so? Women make up 52% of the population, and they make up less than 50% of the senior officers that have been removed. 9 senior officers removed, 4 were women. How are they disproportionately represented here? Now, what you'll get from the leftists in the purple hair crowd immediately, well, Chris, you're being disingenuous. Women only make up a small percentage, so this is a large number of women. We're not talking about 2,500 women who were kicked out. We're talking about 4 women who lost their jobs because they were inappropriate. People lost confidence in their command. It's pretty simple. So she's been ousted. She's done. She's toast from that position, no longer in that position. And so 4 women, 5 men. But women are being disproportionately targeted. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. And there's the news for today. Yeah, why are taxpayers giving them money when they have $11 billion endowment? Exactly. Get the coal burning. Yep. How are we doing here in time? An hour and a half. Okay. Almost 500 people here. Cool beans. Hit the like button, folks. Sonic Skytops. Hello to you. What investigation at Penn State? Which one are you talking about? The Joe Paterno, the sex thing? That's already resolved. Which one are you talking about? Willock says Trump's plan is good, create well-paid jobs, middle-class Americans, get in immigrants, refugees, do lower-paying jobs. I'm good with that. That's not his plan. His plan is return production to the United States. Agree with you on Floyd. I saw that video. It's very unfair as he was guilty party. Yeah, exactly, Amelia. If you watch the entire 34-minute video, which I did, you'll see that George Floyd is the architect of his own demise, and the cops did nothing wrong. And it just got turned into what it was in because of the nonsense in this country. That racial hatred was stoked and generated and fostered by Barack Hussein Obama. Yep, that's where it all came from. That's where that came from. The quicker can't accept their position in the world, the quicker they will recover. Yep. A while ago, they were interviewing the Minister of Electricity in the studio, and load shedding kicked in, canceling the broadcast. The interview was laughing. He got canceled. Really? I didn't know the interview got canceled, Karen. That's news to me. It's funny, though. Well, I was watching a game in Nelsbrit between the Pumas and somebody a few years ago, and power went out. The lights went out right in the middle of the game. I was like, what the hell? The only reason I still had a broadcast is because they had their generators for their transmission van outside. They don't rely on commercial power. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a signal. You guys remember that? Oh, my goodness. One thing that fascinates me is the race-based laws, anti-white agenda, but does not include no VAT, no tax on whites. We're excluding dehumanize. Yep. Price of everything dropping corresponding. What's this? Okay. Most of the world likely feels that Rob Pertzoff should start a new party in South Africa. Voters, I don't know. Maybe. I'm so tired of all the racist bullshit. I believe media and news is the biggest contributor. They are. And that's why I call them out, Proud Neanderthal. That's why I call them out. Just change street names is all you did, and the land. Oh, you talking about the ANC? T-Paul talking about WhatsApp groups. One way to know I'm the right one, as I understand, he doesn't allow comments. Correct, Chantel. Yeah, I don't allow comments. The only people who can post comments in my WhatsApp groups that are for the RefG program is if they are a moderator. And I think, Hendo, if you're here, get a little carried away. I've asked him to stop posting things in there. I didn't create the groups to promote my videos, which is what he's using it for. Okay. Okay. Can somebody spell out to this Muppet? Ron supposed to be his hands off ANC runs the shows. Oh my goodness. Oh, good Lord.
A letter to...
Let's see what he's got to say here. So here's Cyril. Check out this ridiculous sweater he's wearing. Check out this ridiculous sweater that Cyril's wearing.
A a letter to both myself and John Steenhuisen, the leader of the Democratic Alliance. And I can say that business does not dictate what happens. One in government does not dictate what happens in the ANC that I lead. We take our own decisions based on our considerations of everything that will advance the interests of our people. But of course, like any other citizen, they are entitled, as any citizen is entitled, to express their views, their wishes, and their fears. And all of us here as South Africans, we have views and fears and aspirations. So they too are entitled to do so. But in the end, I want it to be clear that the ANC will not be influenced by what business says. We are principally influenced by what our people say. And so we are not under pressure from business or whoever. If we are under any pressure, it is pressure that comes from our people, and our people as a whole, not only ANC members. And the pressure that comes from our people is about poverty, it's about inequality and unemployment. And those are the issues that influence our decisions. And so therefore we have to heed what our people are saying. As regards what is happening in the United States, we have noted.
Well, the problem with that, Cyril, is that all the things you just said are a consequence of your own actions. The ANC has caused the poverty. The ANC has caused the unfairness, the lack of access. You're responsible for those things. So, yeah, you don't answer to your people. The only people you answer to are caters. And he's a liar. They answer to business. Where do you think they're getting money from? Where do you think the ANC is getting all its money from? Iran and business. Wow. Okay, someone asked me to look at some message here. Where was it at here? I don't see who it was now. I don't know that the ANC has stolen the state pension money. I know they want to. Where's that message at? Someone just asked me to look at that. Janadine Havanga, if you apply refugee status and you have family there, would they situate you close to your family? Thank you for the super chat, Marcel. Starbucks coffee. Thank you so much for that. Janadine, you'll go where there's a space. They put you where they can absorb you. You tell them where you'd like to go, and if they can accommodate you, tell them you have family there, then they'll try to accommodate you. But you're going to go where they put you. If it's near your family, that's great, but there's no promises, okay? But you're not exactly chained to your location. You can move. You just lose resources. I haven't seen Willem Petzer's new video, okay? Who wanted me? Some lady wanted me to look at. Was it Lindy or somebody wanted me to look? God bless it. I don't see this. This message just disappeared. Scary Mel Bell, morning from Pretoria. We were experiencing various substation vandalisms. Yeah, no, it's been a lot of that going on up there. The broadcast got canceled, but the minister wasn't yet. I don't see. Oh, here it is. Liz Wheeler, that's what it was. Please talk about adult education to get better jobs. Are there programs to help refugees? Oh, my gosh. Modified refugee resettlement, refugee interview. Stories. Asylum versus refugee. Let's see if it's in there. No, that's not the one. Okay. Okay. All right. U.S. offers refugee cash assistance. Refugees who arrive in the country. Refugees are also eligible for other services such as medical assistance, job placement, English language training. Receive refugee cash assistance for 8 months after arriving. The amount varies by family size. If you're a member who's been granted temporary status, you've got things for temporary assistance for needy families, supplemental security income, Medicaid, supplemental nutritional assistance program, cash assistance, medical assistance, employment preparation, job placement, English language training, and other services all through the Office of Refugee Resettlement. There's a video on this on the channel. There's a video. So, okay, let me find the video here. Well, that's going to be the hard way. Let me just go to Substack. That's the way to do it. So, a lot easier for me to find a Substack because that's why I made the Substack, so you all can find it. Dashboard. Okay, there we go. 700 people subscribe to it. Refugee program. Okay, let me go to view post. Click see much faster this way. 14 most commonly. Dispelling facts analysis, background checks, financial resources, part 3. Here we go. So copy link. There you go. That answers that question. As far as education, every state has different programs. They have education. They have programs based on need. There's federal programs. Yep. All right. So Liz, did I answer your question? Yeah, gold hit 3,000. Not a surprise in the uncertainty going on out there. Right? Not a surprise at all. I don't want your number. Why would I didn't ask for your number? I used to watch The View because I refused to give them my views. Alma says nice that Hendo. Yeah, but Hendo, that's fine. But Hendo started posting his stuff that's not related to my channel. First, I was uncomfortable doing it, but then I just let it go. But then he put other stuff in there. It's not. I didn't make it for people to chat. It's a push only. So it's okay if Hendo pushes the videos that are related to the refugee program, but I typically put them there. And I guess it's okay if he pushes my videos because you're not getting notifications. I didn't think about that, so that's fine. But we don't need to be pushing other stuff in there, memes and other things. That's why people leave other groups, because it just becomes too much. Check out your message list. Does that help? Okay. Let's look at Pennsylvania, for instance. Okay. Assistance. Okay, assistance for adult learners in Pennsylvania. Okay. Adult basic and family literacy education, PA adult education resources, adult students needs, Department of Education. Okay, here's just 3 things off the bat. Okay, this is Pennsylvania. Every state has stuff like this. Adult basic education and family literacy. Okay. So high school equivalency degrees, programs and services. Here we go. Adult basic education, adult secondary education, distance learning, family literacy, high school equivalency, integrated education training, and integrated training, workforce preparation activities. There you go. So adult education resources, Pennsylvania Adult Education Resources site. Okay. Women's resources specifically. Okay. So teaching, workforce pathways. Here you go. Okay. Professional development. Okay. Adult student needs. Okay. There you go. How to get back to college. Basic needs, Mass Reconnect, adult students degree, basic needs assistance. Okay, priority enrollment for undergraduate students with children, child care subsidy. Okay, that's University of Michigan. That's not Pennsylvania. So, anyway, yeah. So there's all kinds of things out there. This America's society that functions. It has things for all kinds of people. So, anyway, I hope that helps. No, I didn't see Willem Petzer's video. What's the sweater made in Wuhan? That's funny. Looks like your granny knit it. Yep. Oh, she did. That's right, Light Rain. She picked the name Goldberg because Jews are successful. Talking about bigotry. Yeah, they have business has him by the short hairs. You're right, Alts. I wonder who he refers to as. Well, he refers to his people as Caters. He's implying it's black South Africans, but it's really just Caters. It's a cricket jersey. Yes, it is, and it looks hideous. Okay, Marcel Nell, 70 rands for the Starbucks. Thank you so much for that. You're very welcome. And we can, whoops. I like the super chats because they're nice little place markers. I can find out where my chat jumps on me. We can then know you have a live going on. Okay, I got it. So Hendo can keep posting stuff in there. That's fine. Back again, says Barbie. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Sorry, please post me to the video. Didn't I put the link in there? I thought I put the link in there. I put the link. There's a link to that video. I made it some time ago, so I don't recall what all I put in there. Rian Kutza, did you see when pets? No, I didn't see it. Video Substack stat. You can see I bought shares in VBS. VBS is bankrupt. That we have reference for where we have worked in corporate, but no certificates. There's something we can do. Certificates for what, Liz? What certificate? I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have certificates when we work in jobs. You get diplomas from graduating from schools or certificates from graduating from programs. Like if you take a Microsoft, database program, you get a certificate for it. I don't understand what you mean. What certificate would you get for working? I mean, I've worked jobs. No one gave me a certificate. UPS didn't give me a certificate working there. I'm not trying to be flippant. That's alien. I don't know what you're talking about. Said 67,000 people applied for and only 1,000 got it. First off, 67,000 is a number that comes from the South African Chamber of Commerce, USA. 67,042 names they turned over, which the State Department said they're not even using, but they have the information. And 1,000, nobody's gotten in. So somebody claimed they got in, and then they disappeared. Someone was on here the other night and said, "Oh, I got it, I'm in," and they disappeared. And I asked them to send me information, and I haven't seen anything from that person. So, yeah, you got to be circumspect about these things. It's 1 a.m. Yes, I know travel with Eddie, and I have to get up at 5 o'clock. So, and I have to make a video tonight. And I need to work on my taxes, so I'm not going to be in bed for another hour and a half at least. How did Mondale and others go to prison from that reality to having fancy houses? Well, yeah, they were sponsored by corporations. Exactly right, Karen. That's what happened. Yep. Liz, no apologies. You did nothing wrong. Don't apologize. No, and if I looked a little testy there, I wasn't rude or didn't say anything rude, but I looked a little testy because I was searching for it because I'm so far behind on where things are at. They're all just in a download folder, or they're all just in a main folder. I haven't sorted things out, and it's piling up. All the videos I've done. I have to look. I'm sure I've done over 500 videos since January 1st. I'm pretty confident of that because I knew I'd done 195 and 200 live streams and prepared videos. That was like a month ago, and so I'm sure I've done about 500 now. So all the supporting material, the PowerPoint slides that I make, the graphics I generate, the thumbnails, the data I download, the photographs I use, the video, all of that stuff is all just in a download folder. And I've got like 15,000 files in there. So they're sequential, but each day they get further behind. I need to sort that, and I haven't had time to sort it. So sent you a WhatsApp private yesterday if you were interested to talk to that person or subject. Okay, Loretta, the problem with that is that I'll look you up and see if I can find you, and hopefully you have your name listed. Oh, yep, there you are. Okay. So I have never responded. No, I did respond to you a long time ago in February. Okay. 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 Yeah. Yeah, that's not what, unless this is a different Loretta. Hang on, I got a Loretta here. Let me see if there's another Loretta here. I got a Lorette and a Loretta. Okay. All right. What you need to do is, Loretta, send me a message saying, "Hey, it was me that mentioned the stream. I'm the Loretta you're talking about." Okay, that way I'll know who it is. Okay. Because guys, your stuff comes up with a phone number. It doesn't come up with your name unless it's saved in my phone book. So, I've got hundreds of frickin' messages from people that are sending me stuff, trying to help out or asking questions, and people keep asking me to add to the groups. In fact, let me do that right now. Let me go to the groups. Let's go to the WhatsApp groups, okay? And refugee, somebody left, so there's 43 people waiting to get in. And where's country code 66? Where's that at? Highland. Oh, okay. That's fine. I think I know who that is. Okay. 2 people got in. That's it. I can put 2 more people in the first group. Let me find the second group. There it is. Second group. Somebody left. Let me see how many people are waiting to get in there. Got 8 people waiting to get in. And 1 got in. Oh, that's it. Can only get 1 in. Okay. Someone named Fissa just got in. All right. So it's down to 7. So that's the best I can do on that. Okay. Let me see if Loretta just sent me something. No, that's someone else entirely. Oh, there you go. That was you. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Now, I wasn't sure, Loretta. See, the problem is I'm getting some people. I got lots of people the same name in here. So, I mean, Afrikaners have clever names, but well, what was that? Hang on a second. Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to save this so that promise I have to save it on my phone. Okay, now I've got you here. Okay, got you in there. So now I know when you come in. Okay. All right, cool. Okay. What's this? So this just came up. This just got published on Biz News. I'm going to show you this real quick. This just came across to me from somebody on WhatsApp. Okay. Because we just covered Ramaphosa. So here we go. All right, check this out. There you go. We don't have to listen to the opinions of big business. We want to listen to our people. Food, stop crime, fix the potholes, create jobs. We need houses, get rid of the pit toilets, electricity. Yep. There you go. That's pretty good. Anyway, I'm going to ask the artist if I can use it. All right, cool. I got caught up there now. Sorry, folks. No, Liz, you don't have to apologize. Okay. The man in the mirror is telling it's time to go pay the man sleep. How do I join a WhatsApp group? Well, Karen, which WhatsApp group do you want to join? See, again, that's not helpful. We have multiple WhatsApp groups. Do you want to join a refugee WhatsApp group? They're full. One has 8 people left in a queue, and the other one has 40, so I'm not putting out the link until those are all gone. When people quit, we let more people in. I've been letting people in ever since we created them. WhatsApp only lets you have 1,025 people in a group, so it's problematic, and that's why we're not going with WhatsApp. We went with Telegram. Telegram group can join anytime. Anytime. The Telegram group can take 220,000 people. So if you want to join the Telegram group, and I don't have to prove you. You just go over there and join it. Here's the link. If you want to join my community on Twitter, you can do that as well. Let me get a link to that. That was my Twitter group at X. Come here, X. Let me see anybody, because I haven't checked in a couple of days. I wonder if there's anybody trying to get in. Yeah, somebody's trying to get in. They've probably been waiting. 2 people. So apologies for that if you've been waiting to get in. I've been busy, so okay. Gotcha. 2 people just joined. So my communities, Making South Africa Great, has how many people are in this group? Somebody just gave 140 Rand. Thank you for that, Van. Thank you for 140 Rand. So Karen, that has 1,000 members in it. So yeah, all right. So let me copy link. Okay, so if you want to join that, you have to approve it though. So that's the Twitter group. Okay, let me see if anybody's posting in there, because yeah, Hendo posted in there. Yeah, people are posting. So it's, yeah, you guys can go in there. That group is there. So that's, if you want to join a Twitter group, Making South Africa, there's 1,000 people in there. That's pretty clean. There's no jerk-offs in there that I can see. You're welcome, Liz. Okay. Yeah, very open-ended. Yeah, so people ask these open-ended questions. I try to address them, but it's hard. Any update in the new program? Well, you can watch my video that I did, Chris John, today. You can watch that. Breaking news about the refugee program. Here you go. That was today. Someone else was interviewed. And it was a bit different than the previous interviews, so I did something on it. So there you go. Whenever I hear marble polishing. That's good. VAT is next for USA. The criminals will just give it a few years. No, they've been trying to do VAT here for a long time. 30 years of customer service and sales experience, references, but no certificates. I would just need to know what I can do to ensure I get a good job. Liz, I don't. Again, you're not explaining to me what certificates are. I don't. What do you get certificates for? I don't have certificates. I mean, my bona fides speak for themselves. I mean, my resume, the jobs I've done, the degrees I have, they speak for themselves. I'm not sure. If you have that kind of experience in customer service, you'll be able to find a job. Look, I went today to Lowe's. Lowe's is a home improvement store and a gardening center too. Let me go Lowe's. They're fantastic. They have parking up front for veterans, which is really cool, and they have all kinds of Lowe's Home Improvement. Okay, you've heard of Home Depot. Lowe's is one of them too. So this is Lowe's. I went and checked this out. So but they're hiring, and they have a big thing up in Spanish. You walk in, they have a recording in Spanish. I'm like, what the hell is this? This is America. Why are we listening to Spanish? I speak 6 languages. I don't want to hear this crap. And then finally, we're hiring. They do it in English because they're hiring the Spanish speakers, the illegal aliens that are here, probably. And then they have signs up everywhere. It's diversity everywhere. It's like no white people in the pictures, but everybody works there is white. It's comical. But anyway, they're all like this, corporate wokes. But Lowe's is great with military. They're hiring. They pay well. They have great benefits. It's just one example. So Springfest, pick a store. So here you go. So here's a sale right now. They had mulch. I bought 5 bags today of red mulch for my front yard. $2 a bag. That's incredible. So here you can get mowers. They had riding mowers, very expensive. There's a grill for your braais, refrigerators, toilets. They got everything to fix your home. When my garage door, when the nut disappeared and it wouldn't open up, the chain snapped. The chain didn't snap, but the link snapped. I was able to get the nut from there, and then I'm sorry, actually I ordered that one online, but they have things like that. So anyway, anything you want for your home, outdoor, there you go. Exterior paint, so bathroom stuff here. Let's go to bathroom. Well, bathroom sinks, bathroom tubs, exhaust fans, faucets, and shower heads. There you go, bathroom, shower heads and faucet accessories. So Lowe's. There you go. All this stuff. There you go. It's a chrome universal shower handle right there. There's your hose. That's expensive. That used to be like $9 for that. That's really got expensive. Yeah, anything you can possibly think of. Anyway, but Lowe's is pretty incredible. So I went and got some raspberries there today. Let me go back and see if they've got their Lowe's home. Okay, lawn and garden. Here we go. Lawn and garden plants. Okay, annuals, perennials, seeds and bulbs. Herbs, fruits, and vegetables. That's what I want. Okay, let's see what they got. Here you go. To herbs, fruits, and vegetables. So vegetable plants, tomato, strawberry, blackberry. Blackberries I don't want. Raspberry. Here you go. There's strawberry plants. I'm not seeing raspberries here. But I got raspberries. Let's look and see if we can just search for them here. I want a brand. I want to search for raspberry. Raspberry bush. Here we go. Okay, here we go. That's not a raspberry. Here we go. Garden state bulb. Okay, raspberry plant. Okay. What the heck? Here we go. Okay. That's a pack. So, but at the store you get a better deal, so. Well, I don't need an instruction video on how to plant raspberries. And the one I got today was much bigger bush than that. Anyway, that's Lowe's. So if you got experience in the retail industry, there's tons of jobs here. Hope that helps, Liz. Oh, it's fine, Liz. I'm in a patient mood today. Okay. Steve Newbold, what's going on? Debbie's here. Hey, Debbie. Haven't seen you for a couple days, I don't think. I'm your garage door technician, says Gordon. Okay. Well, I fixed it. Does the admiral get moved to another base, or is she fired? Isn't? Well, it depends. Yeah, she might be asked to retire if she's of that age, so which she would be. Check out your Washington last picture. Watching you and WhatsApp. Okay. Ooh, that's close, man. That's close. Wow. That's close. I hope it doesn't get to you. Grace, thank you for membership. Appreciate that. $12 for planning is 300%. Oh, and it's crazy. It's crazy. Well, the ones I bought today, one was $14.99, and it was just one stem. And then I bought another bush, which was much bigger. It was the biggest one they had for $29, so $30. Yeah. I mean, I paid like $5.99 for my raspberry bushes a few years ago, and they grew into massive things. And for year after year, they produced, but they're in really bad shape this year, so I had to buy some new ones and put some more soil in my bed, and then get going from there. So anyway, still trying to get my head around America's 4% unemployment rate. Why is that, Max? It's an incredible country, despite all the nonsense. Yep. All right, guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up here. It's 2 hours. I've got to get going, and you all have a good night. Thanks. I'll see you tomorrow. You won't catch me early in the day because I have briefing early in the morning. So at 8 o'clock, I'm doing my first briefing, running my first course for 2 hours, and then I get a break after that. Radio technician. Oh, there's lots of work there. Okay. Garden boy. I'm not the garden boy. Cheers, everybody. Have a good one. Thanks. Be sure to hit the like button. We got 500 likes. We could do better than that. And that's going to do it. Bye-bye.